is how I lost over 6 stone on the GLP-1 medication, Mounjaro. Please make sure to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, all of that jazz to show your love and support. I'm always here to give you the motivation and the oomph you need. So please do like it, repost it, share it, and please do subscribe for some more fabulous footage about all things Mounjaro. For anyone that doesn't know me, my name's Lauren, or Laurent, or that's right, I'll answer to all. I have currently lost over 6 stone on a weight loss journey within a year. So within this video, I'm going to talk to you about what I did previous to Mounjaro, because I did lose over 4 stone previous to Mounjaro, but I'm going to talk us through that and specifically talk us through why I decided to go on Mounjaro, considering I still had lost 4.5 stone myself. And it is really, really important. And I think this one will ring true for quite a few of us. So do listen to that bit, because a lot of people, the biggest question I often get is, well, why would you start Mounjaro? Can't stop saying it. If you already lost that amount of weight yourself. So we'll go into that in the finer detail. I'll also talk us through how I found out about Mounjaro and what it was about going on that GLP-1 medication specifically that fascinated me. Tickled my little cockles. I'll also, of course, be telling you about how being on MJ has changed everything for me, about how it's changed the way I look at weight loss, look at my weight loss journey, look at food, the relationships I have with food, and the relationship I now indeed have with my little old self. And finally, at the end of this video, I'm going to give you your very key top tips to make sure that you get the most success out of your GLP-1 Mounjaro weight loss journey. I've decided to start a YouTube video as well. I've got my TikTok account, so please do follow me on there as well. I'm down there as Mounjaro Memoirs. I also have a backup account on TikTok, which is at Lauren Loses It. At Lauren Loses It. Please do follow along there as well, because I do some lives on there, and it's really, really good to interact with you all and see how you're all doing. As we're going along, please do feel free to comment below as well. Let me know how you're getting on with your journeys, and if any of this rings true to you as well. It's so amazing to build up the community of support and love around us. So let's get into it. So my life before Mounjaro, I was always dieting since the age of around probably 11. I definitely went to my first ever weight loss sessions, you know, those little classes, when I was 13 years old, because at the time that was the youngest you could get into a weight loss class. It was one called Weight Away. It wasn't even one of the official ones. It was one called Weight Away. It was at my local library with somebody called Rosemary. She was a cruel mistress, just like the M25. And that was my first kind of exposure to healthy eating. And I'm sure we all know that that was about as healthy as bungee jumping without a cord. So straight away from such a young age, I was put into these situations where I'm going there with my little sheet where I'd written down everything that I had eaten. I would stand on the scales. Rosemary would look at the scales, and then she'd look back at me. And then she'd say things like, you gained 2 pounds. Then there was little old me, and she'd say things to me like, so what you been eating here, Lauren? Let's have a look at your chart, shall we? Jaffa cakes! Alice, get the whipping board out. She's had Jaffa cakes, everyone. She's had Jaffa cakes. And you'd feel such a shame. So you'd almost hide anything like that going forward. So rather than having that healthy relationship with food and saying, oh yeah, I did have 2 Jaffa cakes in that evening, and I actually did that each evening for the week, what would have been great is for them to turn around and go, okay, that's great balance. I can see you've actually had your protein, you've had your fibre, you're eating within your calorie deficit. So let's instead maybe have a little look at what movement you're doing, or the fact that you're a young child who's probably just started their period. None of that was explored, but it was just shame. Shame. And my poor mum as well, she hated going to see Rosemary and all. But it was all she would have known what to do at the time, was to help support her young child that she could see was having a weight problem, was to go to these sessions. And we never stayed for the meeting afterwards because, again, me and my mum were just so worried about being called out, because that was the culture then. You know, rewarded for big losses and rewarded for keeping in a low calories was just the done deal. And of course, also growing up in a time when the Special K diet was a thing. Low fat always meant high in sugar. That was what I grew up on. So my relationship with food has always been terrible. I've been binge eating. My binge eating disorder was something I've never had help with, never explored through counselling, anything like that. because I just didn't feel like it would help. In my later years, I did obviously, this has become more of something that you could speak openly about. So I speak to my friends about it that were struggling with the same thing. Friends that since have had to go to drastic measures such as having a gastric bypass, having gastric bands, because they've struggled all their life with that relationship with food and the addiction with food. That was always the number one issue. We all knew what to do. We all knew what foods to eat. We all knew to be in a calorie deficit. We all knew that exercising would help a weight loss journey. But we didn't do it because we had an addiction to sugar, to food, to whatever it was. And for me personally, on my journey, no matter what diets I did going forward, all of them, every single one, you name me a diet, she's done it, ain't she? I would have that success for a little while. Couple of months later, boom, 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 I came back eating me egg custard tarts with a vengeance. So the heaviest I was last year, this time last year, June last year, or May last year probably is when I started, I weighed 19.5 stone. I just finished a career where I'd been there for 11.5 years, had yo-yo dieted that whole time that I was there as well, but got to a point where I was probably at my most miserable, but also at my biggest, and I didn't actually realise it. Now, a lot of people say they have body dysmorphia and they forever feel really bad about their weight, which I did, but equally, I was always taking pictures a high angle. Higher than that. Stand on a chair, Gertrude. So actually, when I look back at pictures, I looked skinny. And actually, I probably wasn't realising that I was at a really unhealthy point in my life, including my partner, my friends, my family. They always knew me being a bigger girl. So they didn't see a health risk walking along the road. What they saw was Lauren. Lauren being happy, Lauren running about with the kids, Lauren laughing. They never saw Lauren unhappy, Lauren's knees hurt, Lauren's back's really hurting, Lauren struggling to turn around to wipe her own arse on the loo. I didn't see that side because I didn't allow people to. And I think last year when I finished work, I really realised I had a problem again when I started to go to new places of work and start to worry about the things that I didn't worry about in my current place because I'd been there for 11.5 years. I knew the routine. I didn't have to wear a uniform there. I didn't have to put anything on where I would risk it not fitting. I knew the chairs, I knew the layouts, I knew there was other people around, I knew people knew me, so I didn't have to worry about feeling like the big person because people just knew me for people just knew me for me. But changing my career, I started to feel things like, oh, I had to go in different vans and I had to do a lot of manual things, and I thought, oh, am I going to fit in that van? Oh, I can't sit in the middle seat because, I'm not going to fit there, and I'd make a joke out of it. I'd say things like, well, if I sit in the middle seat, it's going to be uncomfy for all of you. So, and I'd just take the mickey with it. But I actually did feel really self-conscious about it. They had things like a little t-shirt uniform that we'd go and wear in client's house. And suddenly that panic came back again. So that's when it all really slapped back home, like a slap to the face with a fish, that, Lauren, you have to change something. So at 19.5 stone last year, I really tried. And no matter what I was doing, it wasn't working. I was trying the exercises, I was trying the calorie deficit, just something was not clicking. So I went extreme and I started off doing Slim Fast again. And I would never recommend this to anyone because I was eating so little that I was feeling dizzy, feeling faint, wasn't able to be efficient in my new jobs that I was doing. And not to mention it, the constipation that I got from not eating enough, not having enough water, not getting my fibre in, was so bad that they thought I was going to have to go to l'hôpital. So I'd never advise that at all. But it gave me a bit of a kickstart that led to that 4.5 stone loss. I then was able to get onto normal food and have that healthy lifestyle. So in summary, from between June and December last year, in that 6-month period, I'd lost 4.5 stone. In December comes, ding dong merrily on high, in heaven the mince pies are singing. And indeed, the mince pies did sing their song to me, like a choral hypnosis. So yeah, I started eating the mince pies again, eating the Christmas pud. Chocolate Santas, get it down me. Little chocolate coins that the niece and nephew don't care, get it in my face hole. I was having everything. And then I had put on 10 pounds within 3 weeks. So then January was there, and I know this is a difficult time for everyone from a dieting point of view, but it was my head that frightened me the most. I had done so well that whole time, and it was my head that just could not get back into the game. I was doing the things like running to Tesco's, binge eating, getting the food in whilst my other half was out, getting it in a rubbish bin, taking it back out before he even got home. I was back into those extremely unhealthy habits. And it frightened me so much because no matter what I did, I couldn't get back there. And I just knew that, for example, at the end of December, I was 14 stone 10. By January, I was 15 stone 10. I knew I would see that 16 again, 17, 18, 19. I knew it was going to happen. And my soul was just like, this cannot happen again. You're coming up to 40, Lauren. This has got to be the last time because you might not be around for 45 if you continue like this. Sort yourself out. But it wasn't as easy as go and sort yourself out. I knew I needed some additional help. So I started looking into the world of Mounjaro. So that brings me on to our next point, how I found out about Mounjaro and what made me decide to go on it. So I was doing a lot of research already about Mounjaro, about different weight loss aids. I'd called my doctor to say, is there any prescription medication I can be put on? And they actually prescribed me Weightloss. Now, if you haven't read the effects of Weightloss, not the side effects, the actual effect that Weightloss has to help you lose weight, you won't be surprised why I didn't decide to go down that route. I'm not going to go into the ins and outs now because if you want to look up that, you can look up that separate, and I'm not an expert in that field. Indeed, I'm not really an expert in any field, but apart from a strawberry field. Anyway, so I felt a bit of a loss. I thought, well, my doctor can't help me. I had had consultations with a surgeon about a gastric band and a bypass, and my gut was just telling me I didn't want that either. Pardon the pun. And then, like I said, I looked into this world of Mounjaro and I started looking into it on TikTok and on other platforms and seeing other people's stories, which really, really helped me listening to kind of stories happening as they were. Because obviously, all we were hearing from the media is, it's the end! Start measuring up your coffin, you're going down! And what really helped me was watching an Oprah Winfrey documentary as well, and I'll try and link it down below if I can. And I have mentioned it in a previous video, but watching that, having her speak to one of the doctors on there and understanding what the medication Mounjaro, the GLP-1, was actually doing to the body in terms of slowing the digestion down, helping with our blood sugar levels, telling our brain, signaling to the brain that we are fuller for longer and getting satiety from food. That changed the game for me. And the way the doctor put it was in such a way, and indeed, that a lot of doctors have put it going forward on things like This Morning, Lorraine, anything like that. I may not have got those right, so don't quote me. But on lots and lots of other different media outlets, they started rephrasing this as actually people with other diseases, obesity being a disease. With any other disease, you would take medication to support your diet and your exercise that you do to help it. You wouldn't, for example, someone with the high blood pressure was an example that was used. They wouldn't just say, okay, just do diet and exercise and hope for the best. They would say, do your diet and exercise, that's important, but also ensure that you're having this medication to support you on that journey. And everything just clicked. Hallelujah. And I didn't feel so afraid anymore. Of course, I did a lot more research into it from that, but it just gave me that knowledge. Knowledge is power. That I'm not just a greedy old piggy. I mean, there was times where I was, and indeed still am. Guilty as charged. But there was so much more to it, so much more going on under the surface than just she can't stop eating. Also for me, something like Mounjaro, I knew that it wasn't a permanent fixture. I knew that it wasn't something like a bypass or a gastric band where it felt a little bit more permanent. Whereas with Mounjaro, I thought to myself, worst case scenario, I hate it and I can stop it within a week. Obviously, I know you pay for the month of the pen, but that was my thought process. And I also found an incredible provider, of which I will link below as well. So I will do a whole video about my provider. I will link their information below. Also, the reason I chose Mounjaro to go on at this point was nothing else had been working constantly going forwards. Now, yes, I'd lost that 4.5 stone. But again, from me losing that 4.5 stone, I could see that same cycle was repeating. So I lost the 4.5 stone, put on 10 pounds of that within 3 weeks. That cycle was going to start again. So nothing for me. Even doing that 4.5 stone myself still wasn't enough because I was going to go back up again. I just so happened that I caught it before it went too high. And that is why I started Mounjaro, because I knew I needed that tool to help me get over the line. Now, Mounjaro does not melt our fat away, despite media hype. It doesn't do that. It is a tool to slow down that digestion, to give us satiety from food so that we feel satisfied with the food that we're eating. We feel fuller for longer. Obviously, what we then have to do with that is get our protein in, which again helps us feel fuller for longer. Have our fibre, because protein alone will give us a constipation. Get the fibre in, get it moving, loosey-goosey. But for me, the reason Mounjaro has been working for me so long, and I've decided to go on it at that point was because the option of having that food noise taken away was like that constant battle had been removed. And I always compare it, sorry if I've already said this in a different video, I always compare it to like being at the door. Like being at a wooden door is what I see, a bit like The Shining. Imagine trying to get through that wooden door with a little like fork. We're scratching through that door with a little fork. And finally, we can see a little gap and we're like, yes, we can get there. And then someone just puts a little bit of wood over and goes, no, sorry. So just as you're getting somewhere, it's blocked again. That's how dieting felt like before. And being on Mounjaro feels like, to me, I was scratching at that door and someone just walks around the corner and says, here, have a key. It might be a little bit easier. You know, we still have to put the work in. We have to put the key in the lock. We turn the door. We have to step forward because forward is the motion. But they're given a tool to make those steps manageable. So that's why I'm on MJ. There you go. And lastly, here are some of my top tips for you if you are considering starting a Mounjaro journey or if you're currently on one. Now, my biggest tip is find an amazing provider. Now, I am going to do a completely separate video about my provider, but my provider is Voi. And with my code that you can get, I'll put it in the link below, you get 25% off your first order. So a 2.5 pen is £127, including everything, your postage, including a whole app support that they give you. I went with Voi because they give you a clinician team, a coach, amazing customer service team. Their approval is very, very quick. Their shipping is amazing. I delivered my shipping for Bank Holiday Monday. It was received to me on Tuesday at 9:30 in the morning. But that's all I'm going to say about Voi for now. But whoever you go with, make sure it is a registered pharmacy. And you can check if someone is a registered pharmacy by checking on the GPHC website, which I think stands for General Pharmaceutical Council website. Check that it's a registered pharmacy. Everyone should be starting off on a 2.5 dose. If any pharmacy tries to start you off on a dose higher, run for the hills, Captain! Because no, we don't do that. So every dose a minimum of 4 weeks. So top tip number 1, find a very, very supportive provider. Top tip number 2, make sure you don't have a big cheat meal before you take your jab. If I were you, try and have a few days, if not a week, of clean eating beforehand. I'm talking getting your protein in, getting your fibre in, getting your 2 to 3 litres of water in, because that will prep you the best for your journey going forwards. Tip number 3, make sure you work out your calorie deficit as well. My first week, I was really not eating enough calories and I felt dizzy, lightheaded, headachy. I increased my calories and felt so much better going forward. So work out your calorie deficit and make sure you're eating those calories. For the days that you can't eat so much, drink those calories, invest in a good protein shake, some meal replacements, anything like that. But do make sure you continue to fuel that body. Next tip, get yourself some remedies ready in case you do have any side effects. So some basic things for any headaches, any nausea you might feel, any dizziness at all. Everything should be manageable. If anything isn't manageable, always talk with your provider or call 111. Another tip, take measurements and take pictures of yourself as well, because this journey is incredible. So obviously, as you know, I lost 4.5 stone beforehand, which then increased again. Since the 8th of March this year, which is when I started my Mounjaro journey, I've now been on it for 3 whole months and I've lost another 2.5 stone with MJ. So take those pictures, take those measurements and really do enjoy it. I will just end this video as well by saying, make sure if you're in any doubt, have any other health issues, do make sure you speak to your GP, speak to providers, call 111 if you're in any doubt about any side effects, any health conditions that you have, because this is all subject to you as an individual. There's no one size fits all, again, pardon the pun there. So make sure you're getting your support from those avenues as well. Now, I will do lots and lots of videos going forward about my Mounjaro journey because I've still got a long, long way to go. But please do subscribe to this channel. Please do like the video, comment on the video as well, and repost it if you can. Share it. That's the word, isn't it? Share it. And please do follow me on my other platforms. I'm on TikTok as Mounjaro Memoirs and at Lauren Loses It. So please do give me a follow there as well. Let me know how you're getting on. I'll comment back to you as well and get invested in your journey. I hope this video's helped you a little bit, whether it's inspired you, given us a kick up the ass, anything like that, giving you a little bit more confidence in something. But you're doing the right thing by looking on different people's platforms to see how they're getting on as well. So I'll come back with another video soon, my lovely munchers. Take care, everyone. Tatty bye.